Yo, what's up? So this week's video is a continuation of last week's video about acquiring the jazz language, so to speak. So if you haven't watched that one first, you'll have to watch that one before you watch this one, because I explained this thing where um, acquiring the language of jazz is something that is happening here more so than it is happening here, even though this is important as well to transfer this to this. And I talk about a set of habits. It's not something that you practice. It's actually a lifestyle change. You have to adopt a lifestyle. And in last week's video, I talked about how it's actually the same process as acquiring a new language. When you learn a language, it's not enough to take classes, to buy these books, to use Duolingo or whatever. You need to change your lifestyle in such a way that you are absorbing the language as much as possible. A lot of input, and then a lot of output as well, playing what you hear. And if you've had experience learning other languages to a high degree of success, then you can apply that the same way that you acquire the language, the same concept, to music learning. It's the exact same process. The importance of learning, of listening to a lot of music, but very attentively. And there's also another thing, more specifically related to jazz guitar, music in general. It's one thing that I've noticed: a lot of people who come to me for improvisation lessons, and I see that they struggle with constructing a coherent solo or idiomatic solo, however you want to define it. Is they often don't know a lot of songs. They may have worked on a lot of arpeggios. They may know a lot of theory. They may know all their scales and everything, but one thing that they don't have is repertoire, and that's something that's very, very important. Repertoire learning is part of this lifestyle change, this immersion process, which we'll talk about. And as I said last week, it's not so much about ear training in the way that most people define ear training nowadays, kind of like, what is this interval, what is this chord, it's a major seven, what is this, but more about getting familiar with said vocabulary by committing it to memory. If you hear, for example, just this idea, memorize it, commit it to memory on your fingers here, and understand how it relates to the chord. It works over a G minor chord. It can also work over a B flat chord. It can also work over a C7 chord, etc., etc. And you have to spend a lot of time doing this so that you become one with the music, so to speak. Which leads me to this other point that I wanted to mention last week, but I forgot to, because I never prepare my scripts anymore. I don't have a script. I just speak off the cuff like this. It's a good exercise, by the way. This is improvisation. But yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention, there are some players who say that they have never transcribed before. Not one single solo, not one single lick, yet they are playing idiomatically. And I get what they're saying. It's kind of semantics. But what it is that these people early on have this natural ability of, when they listen to music, they latch onto the sounds immediately. So maybe another term would be delayed transcribing. Let's just say you hear, I don't know, two notes. Let's just say these two notes. Just that. And it's over a C chord. Now let's say you don't have your guitar with you, but you hear it every single day. And you also know that it's over a C chord. Then one day, without even listening, you grab your guitar and it's like, it just comes out. That's what I mean by delayed transcribing. So that's an ability that some of these players have, where they don't necessarily have to sit down with a record and like, all right, what's this phrase? Oh, okay, here, put my finger here, put my finger here. But they just absorb the whole language immediately. Now, not everyone has this natural ability. If you do, wonderful. Chances are that if you do have that ability, you don't need to be watching this video anyway. So I'm going to assume that you don't have that ability. But you can train to have that ability. It's an ability that I have now because I said last week, at one point, you get to a point where you no longer need your instrument. You just listen to the music and you just hear, oh, that person is playing, I don't know, minor, what do you call that? 4 minor over 5. And you just hear it. And then after one day you grab your instrument and you reproduce it automatically. That's a great ability to have. It's something that you can achieve. It's going to take a lot of work, of course. But if you don't have that ability, then what you need to do is, of course, you have to do the same kind of listening, but you have to do it with the instrument in your hand. And you figure out, what is that? It's over a C chord. And you just justify this way, okay, C chord, it's the third. And even if you don't know it's the third, it doesn't matter. You just know that, it's a C chord, it's this note. And therefore, with a little bit of intuition over time, you realize, this C chord is also played here. And it's this note. I have a new fingering. It's also here. Over time, you do this. I'm not going to lie, this is going to take a lot of work, but I guarantee you that if you start today, within 1 year, your playing will change drastically. It's a lifestyle change. That's just what it is. I've given this example before. It's the same thing. If I did this, now I don't know how old you are, but there's a time when every guitar player knew how to play this, whether they liked it or not. Now imagine, to such a guitar player, if I do this, they're not thinking, okay, it's intervals of fourths, and it's parallel fourths, and it starts on a D, then it goes. No, you just react, right? Same thing. Maybe if I do this, you're not thinking, okay, chromatic up, and then after minor third. No, you just probably, chances are, if you were a kid, you learned this riff, and if I played this for you, you would just grab your guitar. Maybe even before even grabbing the guitar, you can already imagine in your head what the fingering might be. Same thing with this. Same thing. If you play electric guitar, for example, right, something like that, any blues player will immediately reproduce this. Any bluegrass player will immediately reproduce this without giving it much thought. It's just like it's an instinct. It's part of them. This is the exact same thing with jazz vocabulary. All these things like or it's a bunch of these little riffs. Listen to records all the time, constantly, and at one point you start to absorb this language. And chances are, if you don't have the ability to absorb the vocabulary naturally, you grab your instrument and you practice it. You spend some time just working on it and using it over different songs. Okay, so that's very, very important. That's an important point to make. And then later on, as you develop this familiarity, you can, of course, start focusing on the details and the ear training and everything. And that's where perfect pitch could come in handy eventually. In the beginning, perfect pitch isn't as helpful. Because I said last week, I've worked with so many perfect pitch people who couldn't improvise coherent jazz because they couldn't hear anything worth playing. So you have to learn to hear stuff that's worth playing by doing all the things that I said. Now let's talk about repertoire. I've made many videos about this before, so you should watch them. But just learning a song, let's say Autumn Leaves, learn the melody. In the beginning, if you're new to this, just learn it in one position, just commit it to memory. So let's just say like this. Just that. And then what you want to do is play it regularly over a backing track or with people so you can hear how the melody is reacting to the harmony, to the bass, to the drums. You understand the phrasing. Speaking of which, I have a course on my Sound Slice on rhythm and phrasing. It's a course explaining the historical evolution of jazz phrasing. I don't think there are many people teaching that. I might be one of the only people on this planet to teach that, and it's really, really good. Check it out on Sound Slice. You'll find the link in the description box. So then eventually what you want to do with your memorized fingering is you want to see how it relates to the harmony. So by the way, I have a book on Amazon about this topic. It's called Visualization for the Fretboard Visualization for the Jazz Musician, Jazz Guitar Player, or something like that. Look it up on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description. But yes, you justify the melody with the harmony. So, you see this? Okay. And get your brain to see what's happening here. Okay, then it goes to F7. Okay. You see things like this, and you do this with every melody that you learn. Any melody. What else? Different ways to harmonize that song. Etc. See, I'm making this up on the spot because I have worked on this over the years and it can only get better. So check out my book. So that's something I suggest that you do. And when you learn the melody to a song and you justify it to the harmony, try to see like, oh, what's special about the melody. For example, if you take a song like It Had to Be You. This is over a G chord. These three notes over a G chord sound very good. Da 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 dee, da 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 da. This is fuel for your improvisation. These are melodic cells. Or if you take a song like even Starlight by Starlight, these are not the original chords, but the modern chords. But oh, nice. Over this chord, just that one note over E minor 7 flat 5 is beautiful. So over a D minor 7 flat 5. So if you're playing blue bossa, then see, you have something new there. Da 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 da. Stardust. Oh, over an F minor, 4 minor, this E natural, this major 7 is beautiful. Etc. Darn that dream. See the voice leading. So. Etc. Body and soul. Oh, just that. The original chords to this song. So over a minor chord or a 2 chord, just that. That's a beautiful melody, beautiful melodic cell. So check out the phrasing, how the phrasing works. For instance, All of Me, the phrasing works this way. First, it starts on beat 1, and then there's a connecting phrase from C to E7. So you want to study the voice leading. And you want to study the fact that there's a connecting phrase from C to E7. And then the phrase stops. And then a new phrase starts on A7. And then there's a pause, but afterwards, still on the A7, there's another connecting phrase. And you have this beautiful suspension, etc., etc. The same thing with autumn leaves. This has displaced phrasing, meaning that the melody starts on a pickup and everything is displaced. It's not starting on beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Pay attention to such things. I talk about this in my courses on sound slides. They're really, really good. Your support would really help. It's really bad year for me, actually. Really, really bad. One of the worst years of my adult life. But you see, I stay positive. Eventually, what you will want to be able to do is not necessarily to have the melody committed to memory, like working out a fingering, but to hear in your head and do that delay transcribing that I told you about. Let's say there's a melody that you've never played before and you just put your finger on anywhere and you start playing. So let's see, I don't know. I don't know how it goes. You guys know that one? I think it's a French song. Anything though, but like, I don't know. See, I made a little mistake there. So that means there's room for improvement. Anything. Just have this delayed transcription ability that I talked about earlier. Of course, it's not going to work over like complicated songs like... But I'm talking about songs that have these like singable melodies. Naturally singable melodies. So... What's the name of that song? Almost Like Being in Love. What's another one? How does that go? So September and the Rain. Learn lots of songs. Go jam with people. Find people to play with. People that who are better than you, more experienced than you. Play with as many people as you can to develop these instincts. So one other thing about language learning is there's what we call input, being able to understand, but then there's output, be able to converse, to speak. So that's why you got to play with people. Go to jam sessions. You'll be very nervous in the beginning, but you can only get better as long as you have this mindset of wanting to get better. It's that is the biggest secret, and it's not even a secret, but it's something that a lot of people are reluctant to hear or reluctant to acknowledge for different reasons, but it's all you got to do. It requires a lifestyle change, but in my opinion, it is not as hard as you may think it is. Of course, changing habits, adopting a lifestyle, that is hard. Humans generally we tend to be stuck, trapped in our own ways. So you have to find the motivation, the will to really push past that and just go for it and just adopt it. I hope this video may inspire you to do that. And I'll continue making other videos encouraging you to do this. But it is the way. Let me know what you think. Oh yes, I forgot to say one thing. See, I recorded this ballad in the beginning, and that's related to the title of the video. But one way to really test if you can play what you hear is to be able to play a good solo on a ballad. Because on a ballad, usually the tempo is much slower. There's more time to think, more time to breathe, and it's a lot harder to apply like a copy and paste style. Licks copy and paste style improvisation. You tend to have to play in a melodic way, Every now and then you can play a lick here or two, but it's just like playing a melody to a song. And this will really test your ability to play something worth playing. That song was an old German tune, Bei dir war es immer so schön. By your side, it was always so lovely. C minor, G over B, B flat diminished, 2, 5, 1. Now, if you're a licks player, you're tempted to do like. Sorry, I'm running out of frets. But see, of course, you can do stuff like that from time to time, but you notice that I played very melodically. I chose each note carefully. Actually, it was not my best solo. There were some moments I was like, I shouldn't have played that, but because I'm not going to waste my time making free YouTube videos where I earn very little money. So the way you can help is to support me. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. It makes such a huge difference. Okay, so ballads. Every now and then, try out a ballad and try to play something meaningful. Record yourself and be very honest with yourself. Was that beautiful? Was that meaningful? Was everything played with intent? So there we go. Thank you very much.